Welcome to IHIP News. Pumps, it's time to scramble the jets, pull it out of the parking lot. We are circling back to the 2024 election. I've been out of the country for 10 days, get back in town last night. All hell is broken loose, and I am absolutely here for it, and I love it. First and foremost, one of the most consequential presidents we've ever had.
Yes.
Joe Biden, who is a wonderful man, stepped aside and has passed the torch to his Vice President Kamala Harris, a former guest of our show. Still can't believe that happened.
Right.
And a lot of people, when I landed, were texting me, do you think she can win? Do you think she can win? And what I have to say to everybody in the United States is quit with this mindset. Of course she can win. She is a qualified,
very
competent, brilliant, very moral, running for the right reasons, running against the oldest candidate for president ever, who is senile, who is cruel, who is a fascist, who commits sexual assault, steals classified documents, attempted a coup, and on and on and on. So of course she can win. Don't let your feelings of estrogen or melanin prohibit you from thinking she can win. That is an old 1950s style way of thinking. Of course, this woman can win. She is brilliant. She is pro-democracy. She advocates for everybody in the United States, not just cult members. And I have to say to everybody, think about it like this. There are a lot of Americans who are in the MAGA cult, and they cannot be reasoned with. They are completely brainwashed. They are completely radicalized. But that is not the majority.
Right.
The majority of us, whether you're a leftist, in the center, or a Democratic mainstay, we have to do what the country of France just did. We have to band together and beat and defeat Trumpism and send a global message that this Heritage Foundation Project 2025 bullshit is not going to fly here. Because the last time we had a female on the ballot, she won the popular vote, but because of the Electoral College, Trump gets in. And Trump and the Heritage Foundation groomed Supreme Court picks, all three of them, lied to the American public and took away women's rights. And we are not going to let that happen again. And every sane, decent, and moral American needs to unite around Vice President Kamala Harris so that she can win 4 years of Democratic power so that we can fix and impeach these justices and really send a message to the world that American democracy is here to stay.
Absolutely. And going back to her qualifications, she is thoughtful. She is well-reasoned. She has been in politics for many years. She's a former prosecutor. So on one side, you have a former prosecutor. Then you have a convicted criminal, convicted fraudster. I think the contrast is so clear and transparent that one candidate has the best interests of the American people in mind, and one candidate is only for himself. And I particularly am excited about Kamala Harris, not only because she's female and a minority, but because she is so strong on women's rights, because as we know, Trump and J.D. Vance are both no abortion at the time of conception. So I think the contrast for that is clear. Her support of the LGBTQIA plus community is clear. I couldn't be more thrilled.
So one kind of fun sideshow to this is the freak out of the right-wing media industrial complex, because they have been beating the drum for 6 months that Biden's too old, he can't run, yak, yak, blah, blah, ignoring all of the crazy, dementia-ridden, senile things that Donald Trump says about Hannibal Lecter, sharks, boats, all this crazy stuff, right? But Democrats are held to a higher standard, and thank God that we are.
Right.
Thank God that we are held to a higher standard, because we're going to get a fantastic candidate. But I want to show you and the viewer how badly they're freaking out on Fox. Here is psychopath and very unfuckable Trump sycophant Stephen Miller.
He may be more unfuckable than Ted Cruz.
They held a primary. People, they had ballots. They filled out circles. They went to the voting booths. They spent money on advertisements. And as President Trump said, the Republican Party spent tens of millions of dollars running against Joe Biden. Now they just woke up one morning and said, never mind, we're canceling the entire primary. We're getting rid of our candidate, and we're pretending the election has never even happened, and we're going to let donors handpick a new nominee. They're publicly admitting that they are an oligarchy. They are not running a democracy. They are not running a representative republic. This is an oligarchy controlled by business interests. And the Democratic Convention is the private corporation that represents those business interests. This is as full frontal an attack on American democracy as we've ever seen in the history of America's major political parties.
Okay, so first and foremost, it is especially rich that he is acting as though the Democrats are subverting democracy when they stormed the Capitol and he still has not admitted that he lost the election of 2020. And here's the difference between Democrats and the faux beta male MAGA Republicans. When Hillary Clinton lost, she got up the next morning and conceded. And she went to Trump's inauguration, which was probably one of the most painful things she's ever done. But she sat on that stage and she watched him get sworn in with all of the other Democrats. When Trump lost, he tucked and rolled after he had all of his crazy cult followers literally spray feces all over the Capitol like unhinged lunatics. And then he tucked and rolled and didn't even take part in the peaceful transfer of power. So don't try to advocate for us, because I voted for Biden in both primaries, in both the 2020 primary and the 2024 primary. And I am fine that he stepped down. And here's why. We all saw what we saw on that debate stage. And the Democrats hold our party and our country to a higher standard because what we saw was a man who is aging. And that concerned us because we know what happens. You can't unage. So he passed the torch. Did Mitch McConnell or Josh Hawley or any of these right-wing sycophants deal with Trump when they could have after he tried to interfere with the Ukrainian war via blackmail, or when he stole our nuke codes and took them to Mar-a-Lago where he entertains fascists like Viktor Orban or has lunch with Nazis? No, they didn't deal with him, and they're going to carry him to term, and he's going to get beat by a brilliant black woman, because we are going to just beat this drum from now till kingdom come so that it is President Kamala Harris that beats the old, senile, convicted felon, cult leader, loser, total loser, has never won a popular vote ever. You want to know why? Because he's not popular.
I personally take a lot of joy in the fact that the 2024 election, he will lose to a black female like Fonnie Willis, Letitia James, Tanya Chutkan, all the black females that are in control of his life when he is a misogynistic bigot. So that gives me a personal sense of joy. But I too am just flabbergasted that he would have the balls, Stephen Miller would have the absolute balls to go on TV and talk about Democrats being an oligarchy when Trump says straight up, I want to be a dictator. I love Kim Jong-un. I love Putin. I love Viktor Orban. Like, the hypocrisy is so jaw-dropping. It's unbelievable.
All right, Seth, now show the tweet I'm going to read to everybody, or Truth Social. Donald Trump says, so we are forced to spend time and money on fighting crooked Joe Biden. He polls badly after having a terrible debate and quits the race. Now we have to start all over again. Shouldn't the Republican Party be reimbursed for fraud, and that everybody around Joe, including his doctors and the fake news media, knew he was not capable of running for or being president? Just asking. And what I have to say to that is, wah. Somebody call them a wambulance. I mean, it is unbelievable how the irony is lost on him, that all of these crazy people around him, including his vice presidential candidate, had crystal clear clarity on how dangerous and psychotic and demented this candidate is, but they're also blinded by the right now, immediate, impulsive ambition of power that they just go along with this. And the rhetoric coming out of the Heritage Foundation, which has groomed all of these people, including Donald Trump, he's trying to distance himself from them, but do not buy it. The rhetoric coming out is the exact same of what came out in the early stages of Nazi Germany and Hitler's rise. There is zero question. The rhetoric is completely parallel. They are unifying against an identified threat in Trump and Heritage Foundations. It is immigrants and also women having control over their bodies. And they will not stop there.
No.
They are already beating the drum against the LGBTQ plus community, the trans community, and it is disgusting to me that people who live in a community around these people can vote against them. The most moral thing you can do, if you're a Christian, if you consider yourself a decent person, if you consider yourself some form of a spiritual person seeking serenity, the most moral thing you can do is vote and always stand with those that are the most marginalized, because the rest of the world will constantly pick on them. And that's what the entire MAGA movement is. It is white men with an oligarchy who is now the Silicon Valley bros, because they seek benefits of not having to pay taxes. And all of that does is just further marginalize communities. And it is incredibly dangerous. But right now, the Democratic Party is uniting leftist, centrist, Democratic mainstays. We all have to unite around Kamala Harris. The difference between us and MAGA is we do not have to agree with everything on the party platform. And we have critical thinking and we can discern this is the gist of what I want to do to be able to continue the things that I care about and what I fight for. But let me just tell everybody, you can get a preview of what Trumpism looks like when it's taken all the way to term. And that is our state, the state of Oklahoma, which is wildly homophobic, wildly transphobic. They are institutionalizing these things in forms of institutional bigotry in this state. They have made it legal. If you see protesters and you happen to run over them in your car, you cannot be prosecuted. They have passed a law, our governor, to where it is legal to commit homicide against somebody exercising their constitutional right. Not to mention women who need medical care are bleeding out in hospital parking lots because the doctors are too afraid to treat them. And they have no issue with young teenagers who have been raped by family members carrying those babies to term. That's what Trumpism looks like in these states. And it is serious, and it is serious as all get out. But I want to leave everybody with one final thing. We know Beyonce and the Beehive are going to roll out because Black women always go hard in the paint for this country. They always do, every single election. But I want to call on Taylor Swift, because you have a global audience full of young girls that need access to birth control, that have a right to have privacy with their doctors and gynecological appointments. And I'm calling on you, Taylor. The best thing you can do for these girls that pay you and come to see you and experience joy and a sense of companionship and camaraderie at your concerts is for you to fight for all of these young fans of yours to have a right to birth control, to IVF, and to abortion care. That will make a difference. This is the election year of the women, and we are going to roar back and all go hard in the paint for Vice President Kamala Harris for President of the United States.
Rolls off the tongue great, doesn't it?
It does. Stick with us for more hot takes.